All right, Northwoods Cardboard Gang. Today we're going to be talking about Pokemon liquidity. That's right. When you're looking at your Pokemon investments in 2023, we need to be talking about liquidity. So today we're going to check it out right after this. Alright guys, I'm Eddie with Northwoods TCG, and today we're going to be talking about Pokemon investment market liquidity. That's right, it's a big factor that people underestimate when it comes down to the Pokemon TCG and your investments. So when we're talking about Pokemon investments, we need to be considering the liquidity of our particular items. So today we're going to be talking about two spectrums of it and what you could be looking at. I'm going to give you examples in both spectrums so that you can get an idea of what you're looking for and what exactly we're talking about when it comes down to liquidity inside of the market. So before I get into that, please, if I do give you some good content today, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button to help the video along. Also, hit that share button. It's a new thing I'm going to ask you to do. Share this with someone with like minds that you know. If you know someone that likes it, share it on your feed, put it out there for other people to see. It's greatly appreciated and helps the channel a ton by doing that, by having people share the video with family and friends. So that being said, we're going to be talking about liquidity. Now, there's two items that you can look at when it comes down to liquidity. And liquidity in the system is exactly what it sounds like. How liquid that item is and how easy it is to sell. The more liquidity an item has, the easier it is to sell. The harder it is to sell, we call them frozen or solid items. And those are items that are very hard to sell. They might have a very small niche market. They might have a very expensive price point. The market may have fallen out on them and they're very difficult to make profit or get money back on those particular items. These are all factors that can be looked at when it comes down to the liquidity in your market. So today we're going to be talking about two different aspects of this. The first one's going to be frozen assets. Now, it's something I use in a live and someone actually kind of said thank you for bringing up frozen assets because it's something that can happen when you're talking about, it can happen in stocks, it can happen in any kind of market. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look at Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is a perfect opportunity to look at what could potentially be frozen assets. So if you would have gotten into Pokemon Go overall has just not performed, right? The ETBs just do not move. A lot of the other parts of it just don't do really well. Nothing in that set is really exciting for anybody. It never really took off like some people thought it would, and it's just kind of been a dead value at the end of the day. So when you look at it, and let's just say you bought Pokemon Go at the store for $50. You didn't have a good supplier. You didn't wait. You bought it right off the bat. You bought a huge quantity of it for $50 in ETB. Where are you at today? Well, you really have one of two options realistically. Number one, you are going to sell that at a loss. No real way around it right now. Currently, an ETB of Pokemon Go is running about $35. So right now, you're at about a $15 loss on that particular item. Now, the other option is you sit there. You're going to hold it. You're going to do nothing. You're going to wait for years to see if this particular item is going to go up in price. So you can sell, get out, put it into something else that might be higher performing, and then make back that money that you lost. Or B, you've created what we call a frozen asset. Pretty much. You're going to be frozen. It's stuck. Realistically, even at the loss, it's still, all this is all frozen asset. You're either A, selling for a loss, or B, you're waiting a long period of time. You freeze that money up. It has no way to sell it without losing money. It is stuck. You have it stuck in a position where you cannot do anything with it without losing money right now. So that's what we call a frozen asset. That's basically the epitome of a frozen asset right now. If you bought Pokemon Go at $50, you went out and bought a case of it, bought 10 of them, there's paid $500, you got 50 of these things, or $50 a piece tied up into these. They're stuck. You're going to lose money or you're going to sit on it for a really long period of time at this point. Now, there's another way that you can create a frozen asset. And it's something that we don't talk about very often, but it also comes down to sometimes price or how rare an item is. Those two factors can actually create a frozen asset also. Just because a product is really, really cheap or really, really expensive or really, really cheap does not mean that it's more liquid. We can have an item that's rare, very expensive, and that can create a frozen asset. Perfect example of that might be the Illustrator Pikachu. If Logan Paul currently wanted to take that particular item, even with all the hype and FOMO and everything that's going on, could he sell that item for a profit at this point in time? It'd probably be very difficult. Someone is probably not going to go and run and buy that Illustrator Pikachu. And even though it's got hype and FOMO behind it, in order for him to make profit on that particular sale, he has to sell it at a certain price. And what's the chances are that he's going to find someone to do so? Probably very difficult. Once again, that's one of those other cases where you can once again create that actual frozen asset. It's not just in the low end stuff. It's not just because it loses money. Sometimes you can price yourself so high on the mountain because of rarity and cost that you can actually do the exact same thing. So there is a way to do it on both ends of the spectrum. Something to take into consideration as we get further down the line. Next thing we're going to talk about is going to be liquidity. So a good example right now in the market, and this is just recent times because most people have been in the hobby and have seen these things occur in the last 3 years. So if we're going to look at liquidity in the market, a big factor for liquidity is going to be something like Evolving Skies. Now, if you were to purchase Evolving Skies, I'm just going to use $99 because that's what I purchased it at, and that's a good base point for where we were at the low in December of 2021. You could have purchased Evolving Skies for $99 to $105, right in that range, right? You also had another shot at it at $130, but we're going to go with the $99 case because it's just my experience with it. What you saw very quickly was it shot all the way up to $180. So we purchased it in December, and then by March, it was at $180 for the exact same booster boxes. That's what we call a good market. The thing exploded. The set overall has been great. Everything was fantastic on it. Now, that also created a very liquid item. Now, liquid does not mean that you're able to sell it at that high point and guarantee that it's going to sell extremely fast. Not necessarily. But what I'm looking at when I'm talking about liquidity is how can I stay profitable and get the most profit I can out of this and be able to sell it quickly? Well, Evolving Skies, even though it's going at $180, if you want to sell it quickly, you list it at $175. You take a $5 loss from the maximum amount that it would sell at, but you could also then quickly sell that price and you still made a fantastic profit on something that you held for 4 months. Once again, there's that liquidity inside of that item. It sells fast when you can actually list it just a little bit under, but still make a relatively good profit on that particular item. That's a big factor when it comes down to overall sellability of particular products. Now, other part of it is too, goes up to $400 like we're seeing now. What you're creating is that, yeah, you could have some liquidity in it. It would sell quick right now if you were to list at $10 under the max sales price, right? If the last sale was at $425 and you listed it at $405 or $415, it's probably going to sell really quickly. And that's going to create more people to probably list it down there and drive that market down. But once again, from $99 to $400 even, you're seeing good liquidity. It moves fast. But on the other factor is that you've also taken the pyramid, instead of having this big base of people that could afford it between $100 and $200, you've now narrowed it down a little bit. So every time you increase the price point, you can also see a loss of liquidity in that factor also. Once again, it's like the Logan Paul example. Once you get to a certain price, there's less and less people that are able to afford that particular item. Perfect example of it is Team Up Box. Once again, to me, Team Up Box is a fantastic box. It's a short printed box. It has some great opportunities for growth in the future. But once again, it gets to a point where you take it from having millions of people being able to buy something and you cut it down to where 100,000 people can buy something. You start to cut out the market more and more the higher the price gets on a particular item, which is why sometimes when I talk about like 6-pack booster bundles, perfect example, they may seem like they're kind of chintzy, you only get 6, or not displayable, but when you're talking about people looking at chasing something in those particular packs, Pokemon 151, a perfect example. People love chasing particular items in that particular set, and there's a lot to chase in that one. You have Alakazam, Blastoise, Venusaur, you've got Charizard, you've got Erica's Intuition, you've got all these things that are going inside of that particular set that people will chase. Mew, Gold Mew, all this stuff that people in Gen 1 are really excited to open. Now, think 10 years down the road. Is it going to be able to easier to sell an ETB of this particular set, or would it be maybe more available to sell a 6-pack bundle? Once again, as the price goes up, the pyramid gets smaller. The higher you go up in price, the less people that can afford to buy that particular item. Once again, by maybe buying a lower end item, you could actually, that moves equivalently to the other ones, such as a 6-pack bundle versus an ETB versus a booster box. You can see the price come up because the price per pack moves up and it moves up equivalently. You're getting the same percentage gain, but more people can buy it. There's more availability for people to buy that particular item. Same thing with like buying a base set booster box versus buying a pack. More people can buy a pack of these particular sets. Jungle, Fossil, Gym Challenge, Rocket, all the way through Neo. more people can buy a single pack because they're between $100 and $500 for most of them, as long as they're not first edition. That gives you liquidity in the packs. The booster boxes now have a lot less sales. Less people can pay $10,000 for a booster box. More people can pay $100 to $500 for a pack. Once again, that's where I talk about booster boxes giving you the options. They give you the liquidity options that you might be looking for. Team Up, a perfect example. If you wanted to sell Team Up right now, you have the availability to either A, sell the booster box. Someone might buy it for that price tag that it's at currently, which I believe is $1,800, $1,900. Or you can break it down. The packs are selling. Actually, a lot of packs sell of Team Up, not as many booster boxes. So you get that options in booster boxes to be able to break it down, sell packs, or sell booster boxes to create more liquidity in those particular sets. Once again, frozen assets, not a happy place to be. We want to look at products and items that could actually give you more liquidity in them. Something that'll actually sell better, give you options, and give you the availability to sell things into the market that would be beneficial to you and to the market itself. Once again, not necessarily something that's a full-time, every time it's going to work, but in most cases, you can see good options in there. Pokemon Go, not any good options. If you got tied up into that set, it's frozen. Right now, I don't see any way out of that without taking a loss. You could take that loss and put it into a higher moving item or an item with better opportunities to see growth. But in general, Pokemon Go, very, very solid. Very, very frozen. Really not a lot of options. Evolving Skies, if you bought it at $99, $130, $180, you got a lot of liquidity right now. You have the availability to sell that anywhere along that spectrum and make some good profitability on those particular sets. And that's all things that you need to consider and look at when you're buying Pokemon products and investments. And it's not just Pokemon. It's all investments in general. But since we're in a Pokemon channel, we're going to be talking about in Pokemon investments. So definitely keep that in consideration when you're looking at investments. Sometimes look at lower priced items because, yeah, they're lower priced, but they have more liquidity. It's easier to sell a 6-pack bundle than it is to sell a booster box. Sometimes it's easier to sell a pack than it is to sell an ETB. That's all factors that we have to look at when it comes down to the overall performance in your portfolio and the options in case you need to sell in the future. If you need to sell quickly, you want to have that liquidity. You want to have those options to be able to get it out of it and get the best opportunities and price that you can for those particular items. So overall, guys, hopefully it's a good video. Hopefully this helps you out in your investment and Pokemon investment journey. Other than that, if I did give you some good information, please hit that subscribe. Hopefully I earned that from you today. Also, hit that like button. It helps me out a ton to hit that like and keep that algorithm going. Also, leave a comment down below. What type of videos are you looking for on this channel? Are you looking for more like this? Are you looking for just products? Or do you want to see more market analysis and videos like that? With that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and kick it into the end, which is going to give you 2 videos to watch afterwards. And we'll see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.